Namaskar and welcome to World Today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, soon after he returned from Glasgow in the morning and from Italy, that is, it was a combined trip, when he held this review meeting on the status of the vaccination drive in our country, and he gave a clarion call for vaccines to reach far and wide to each and every household of the country. So we'll be looking at that in World Today, and we'll also be looking at the Deep Utsav from Ayodhya, where a record 900,000 lamps are going to be lit on the eve of Diwali a little later in the day. Let's begin with our headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi reviews the vaccine administration in districts with low vaccination coverage, and the Prime Minister asks officials to shift gears. He says move from vaccination centers to administering vaccines at people's doors. He urges that vaccines reach every home. Prime Minister says that his just concluded visit to Italy and UK gave him a wonderful opportunity to see many old friends in person after a long time and meet some new ones as well. On the last day of his visit, the Prime Minister launched the One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative along with the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Republicans win the governor's election in Virginia. In fact, Tuesday's poll was seen as a referendum on U.S. President Joe Biden's presidency. The Republican Glenn Youngkin beat the Democrat Terry McAuliffe, and he won by a very close margin in a neck-and-neck race. And in sports, Ronaldo rescues Manchester United and Chelsea beat Malmo. Chelsea moves closer, in fact, to the last 16 of the Champions League. And in life, well, a 4-year-old girl who went missing from an Australian outback campsite more than 2 weeks ago was found alive and well inside a locked house. One man was taken into custody for Cleo's disappearance. The case had occupied the concerns of Australians far and wide. Let's begin with the big news. So immediately after returning from his visit to Italy and Glasgow, the Prime Minister held a review meeting with districts having a low vaccination coverage in India. And the meeting included districts that had less than 50% coverage for the first dose and low coverage of the second dose as well in the COVID vaccine program. The Prime Minister interacted with the district magistrates of over 40 districts in Jharkhand, Manipur, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, Maharashtra, Meghalaya and other states, with the districts having a low vaccination coverage, as we said. So the district magistrates gave an account of the issues and the challenges that they are facing in their districts that's resulted in the low vaccination coverage. The DMs also shared their best practices, their good practices adopted by them, which has led to some increase in the coverage. The Prime Minister asked these officials to change gears from arrangements made for taking people to the vaccination center and for safe vaccination to administering vaccines from door to door. He urged the health workers to reach every house with the passion of Har Ghar Tika, Ghar Ghar Tika, vaccine at every doorstep.
हर घर दस्तक इसी मंत्र के साथ हर उस घर में दस्तक दी जाएगी जहां अभी तक दोनों टीके का संपूर्ण सुरक्षा कवच नहीं मिला है। अब हर घर टीका, घर घर टीका, इस जज्बे के साथ हम सबको घर घर पहुंचना है। साथियों, इस अभियान की सफलता के लिए हमें कम्युनिकेशन के लिए टेक्नोलॉजी से लेकर अपने सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का भरपूर उपयोग करना है। टीकाकरण से जुड़े कम्युनिकेशन को जितना हम सरल रूप में करेंगे, स्थानीय भाषा बोलियों में करेंगे। मैंने देखा है कुछ लोगों ने तो गीत बनाए हैं, ग्रामीण भाषा में गीत बनाते, गीत गाते 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 वैक्सीनेशन की बात कर रहे हैं। इतने बेहतर परिणाम आएंगे। साथियों, हर घर दस्तक देते समय पहली डोज के साथ साथ आप सभी को दूसरी डोज पर भी उतना ही ध्यान देना होगा।
The Prime Minister also warned against complacency creeping in after India had surpassed more than 100 crore jabs nationwide. India has crossed 107 crore jabs now, And he urged for the good work to keep going.
आज तक जितनी प्रगति हमने की है वो आप सबकी मेहनत से हुई है। हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट का, गांव का, छोटा मोटा हर मुलाजिम, हमारी आशा वर्कर कितनी मेहनत की है जी। कितने दूर दूर इलाकों में पैदल चल चल करके लोगों ने वैक्सीनेशन पहुंचाया है। लेकिन 1 बिलियन के बाद अगर हम थोड़े से भी ढीले पड़ गए तो नई संकट आ सकता है। और इसलिए हमारे यहाँ तो कहा जाता है कि बीमारी और दुश्मन को कभी कम नहीं आंकना चाहिए, उसको आखिरी अंत तक लड़ाई लड़नी पड़ती है। और इसलिए मैं चाहूंगा कि हमें थोड़ा सा भी ढीलापन लाने नहीं देना है।
Well, the Prime Minister called for bringing in a new initiative and better methods to increase the vaccination scope and to enhance the net, and he urged them to micromanage the entire vaccination campaign. He was speaking to DMs and even chief ministers.
100 साल की इस सबसे बड़ी महामारी में देश ने अनेक चुनौतियों का सामना किया है। कोरोना से देश की लड़ाई में एक खास बात यह रही कि हमने नए नए समाधान खोजे, इनोवेटिव तरीके आजमाए और हर इलाके में लोगों ने अपने दिमाग से नई नई चीजें की है। आपको भी अपने अपने जिलों में वैक्सीनेशन बढ़ाने के लिए नए नए इनोवेटिव तरीके पर और ज्यादा काम करना ही होगा। नया तरीका, नया उत्साह, नई टेक्निक, ये इसमें जान भरती रहेगी। अब हम राज्य का हिसाब, जिले का हिसाब उसको भूल जाए। हम हर गांव में भी मोहल्ला, उसमें भी वो 4 घर बाकी रह गए तो 4 घर, बारीकी की तरह हम जितना जाएंगे हम परिणाम प्राप्त करेंगे। और जहां कहीं भी जो भी कमियां हैं उसे जल्द से जल्द दूर करके ही रहना है। अपने जिलों में एक एक गांव, एक एक कस्बे, इसके लिए अगर अलग अलग रणनीति बनानी हो तो वो भी बनाइए। आप क्षेत्र के हिसाब से 20-25 लोगों की टीम बनाकर भी ऐसा कर सकते हैं। जो टीमें आपने बनाई हो उनमें एक हेल्दी कंपटीशन हो।
And the Prime Minister also warned against rumours, and he urged officials and chief ministers to make every effort to dispel these rumours, including taking the help now from religious leaders to do so.
मुझे पता है कि आपके सामने एक चुनौती अफवाह और लोगों के भ्रम की स्थिति भी है, और जैसे जैसे हम आगे बढ़ेंगे शायद ये समस्याएं हमें कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड एरियाज में सामने आएगी। इसका एक बड़ा समाधान है कि लोगों को ज्यादा से ज्यादा जागरूक किया जाए। आप इसमें स्थानीय धर्मगुरुओं को भी जोड़ें, उनकी मदद लें, उनके छोटे छोटे वीडियो बनाए 2-2, 3-3 मिनट के, और उनके वीडियो पॉपुलर करें। हर घर में उनके धर्मगुरुओं के वीडियो पहुंचे, धर्मगुरु उनको समझाएं। इसके लिए आप प्रयास किए। अभी 2 दिन पहले ही मैं वेटिकन में था, पोप फ्रांसिसी से मेरी बहुत अच्छी मुलाकात हुई। वैक्सीन पर धर्मगुरुओं के संदेश को भी हमें जनता तक पहुंचाने पर विशेष जोर देना होगा।
Well, the World Health Organization Technical Committee has given an emergency approval to Covaxin. This is big news, and it will help now pave the way for people who have taken the dose to qualify for vaccine mandates in other countries. The panel's WHO Technical Advisory Emergency Group for Emergency Use Listings, that's TAGEUL. It had sought more clarifications from the vaccine maker on October 26, and then in an independent advisory group, this is what this group is. It provides recommendations to the WHO on whether a COVID-19 vaccine can be listed for emergency use under the EUL procedure. And today the WHO has tweeted that they have given emergency approval for the use of Covaxin. It's listed amongst many other vaccines to be used for emergency use, but they have not given it for approval. They say that the data is insufficient for data for pregnant women. However, all people above the age of 18, they say that there is sufficient data to say this vaccine is safe and that whatever side effects they have, they are in fact they far outweigh the number of whatever side effects they have, they are far less than the benefits. In fact, the benefits far outweigh the side effects. And now we're going to go across live to Ayodhya for the Deepotsav celebration. Now we know that these are part of the celebrations of the festival of Diwali. Deepavali, or the festival, it's a worldwide festival of lights. Ayodhya is attempting now to breach its own record of lighting up to 9 lakh earthen lamps. The previous year they had lit about 6 lakhs, now they're going to light about 9 lakhs, and the government of Uttar Pradesh has decided to illuminate in fact 12 lakh earthen lamps this year. 12 lakh earthen lamps this year.
14 वर्षों के वनवास को जाएंगे। दशरथ स्तब्ध है। स्तब्ध है सारी नगरी। विवादों और विमर्शों से कुल की मर्यादा की रक्षा हेतु राम वन गमन को सहर्ष स्वीकार करते हैं। प्रसन्नता और अप्रसन्नता के भाव से परे राम नगर छोड़ चल पड़े हैं वन को। राम केवट को निषाद राज की उपाधि से अलंकृत करते हैं। दोनों समान हैं इसका बोध कराते हैं एवं गंगा पार कराने के लिए विनय पूर्वक आग्रह करते हैं। राम मानव समाज में ऊंच नीच के भेद को नकारते हैं। राम चित्रकूट में अपना सुंदर संसार बसा चुके हैं। उधर कुटुंब एवं अयोध्या वासियों समेत भरत राम को मनाने अयोध्या से चल पड़े हैं। चित्रकूट में भरत को परम स्नेह से सिंचित करते हैं राम। राम, सीता और लक्ष्मण ने चित्रकूट से आगे चलकर पंचवटी में जीवन का आनंद ढूंढ लिया है। अब इस राम कथा में मैं राक्षसी कन्या शूर्पणखा का प्रवेश देख रहा हूं। शूर्पणखा के प्रणय निवेदन को तो कोई सामान्य विवाहित पुरुष भी अस्वीकार कर देता। ये तो राम हैं, तो क्या लक्ष्मण स्वीकार करेंगे शूर्पणखा का प्रणय निवेदन? कदापि नहीं। शूर्पणखा के नासिका विच्छेद के साथ ही शूर्पणखा अध्याय का अंत हो जाएगा, संशय है मुझे। उधर माता सीता ने राम के सामने स्वर्ण मृगछाल प्राप्ति की लालसा प्रकट कर दी है। राम स्वर्ण मृग की सत्यता जानते हैं, परंतु वर वचन की प्रतिज्ञा को धारण करने वाले राम सीता के आग्रह को ठुकरा ही नहीं सकते। मारीच शत्रु है, उसका भेद प्रकट हो गया है, परंतु राम उसे शत्रु भाव से किंचित नहीं देखते। वैकुंठ धाम जाने की उसकी इच्छा भी पूरी करते हैं। मायावी स्वर की सत्यता लक्ष्मण भी नहीं जान पाए। सीता अपनी कुटिया में अकेली पड़ ही गई। सीता लांग गई है लक्ष्मण रेखा। अपनी चाल में सफल हो गया है रावण। वियोग के क्षण में भी राम न धैर्य खोते हैं न धर्म। पहुंचे हैं शबरी के आश्रम। सीता का पता पूछना तो एक उद्देश्य है ही। शबरी को
So we are witnessing live footage coming in from Ayodhya from the Ram Ki paddy, as we can say. And this celebration is putting on center stage, in fact, the rich cultural heritage of our country, India, especially in Ayodhya, the heritage of Ayodhya. So this year what has happened is that the administration is celebrating the 5th edition of the Deepotsav, and it's a 5-day festival coinciding with the 5 days that Diwali is also celebrated. Today in fact is Choti Diwali, which is the 2nd day of Diwali. The first day is Dhanteras, and on Choti Diwali the whole city is lit up with earthen lamps or diyas to mark the occasion. Diwali actually means a row of lights, and of course it signifies many things, much more greater, deeper significance of the victory of light over darkness, and all that light signifies and all that darkness signifies, that light defeats darkness, good defeats evil. The main Deepotsav celebration also has online competitions this year. In fact, 9 lakh earthen lamps are going to be lit in Ayodhya to create a new world record. And a team of the Guinness Book of World Records is also present at this event, and they will be judging this event. So what has actually happened here and what we are seeing is the culmination of plenty of preparation, because it's come from 90,000 villages across the country. Each of these diyas has landed in Ayodhya. 90,000 villages from Uttar Pradesh, from 75 districts in Uttar Pradesh. Those diyas have reached Ayodhya, and they will all be lit up. 900,000 diyas, 9 lakh diyas.
लंका में भीषण युद्ध छिड़ चुका है। रावण की सेना के एक महारथी राम के हाथों मोक्ष को प्राप्त हो रहे हैं, परंतु राम अपने
Well, we were watching the festival that from Ayodhya, in fact the Deepotsav, where we are going to see a world record being created in the number of diyas that are going to be lit. It's a very significant occasion, and it's the 5th year running that Ayodhya will be creating this record and also putting on center stage the cultural heritage of the city of Ayodhya. We know that Ayodhya is very deeply associated with the Ramayana. It's a very ancient city, and it also, this particular event is taking place on the Saryu River in the Ram Ki Paddy, which is a ghat available on the Saryu River, which is a very holy river. It's one of the tributaries of the Ganga, and it is a river associated in the Ramayana with Ram, Lord Ram, moving into the river and then becoming the 7th form of the incarnation and moving into his next abode. So that is basically what the river is also signifying. So it's a very significant day in Ayodhya as well, because it will be bringing, it's one day before Diwali, and Diwali of course is the celebration of lights in Ayodhya, the day on which Lord Ram returns after 14 years and then he comes back after his victory over Ravan. So let's return now back to World Today, and we are going to be talking now about our next story, which is about the Dutch government, which on Tuesday decided to reimpose measures including the wearing of masks, face masks. These are aimed at slowing the latest spike in COVID-19 infections. This is as per Prime Minister Mark Rutte. And what's said, they've said that the use of the Corona Pass showing proof of COVID-19 vaccination or a recent negative coronavirus test would be broadened as of November 6th to public places including museums, gyms and outdoor terraces. Coronavirus infections in the Netherlands, they have been rising for a month after most social distancing measures were scrapped in late September, and they reached their highest level since July in the past week. This has forced many hospitals to cut back on regular care again and to make room for urgent COVID-19 cases. Meanwhile, a German Air Force MED-EVAC plane, it landed in Romania This is on Tuesday to begin the intensive care treatment on patients with severe COVID-19. The first 6 patients were due to be taken to German hospitals for care by the Airbus A310, a flying intensive care unit with around 20 medical personnel to care for patients during the course of the flight. 3 flights are expected to transport a capacity of 6 patients per flight until Wednesday. In Romania, daily COVID-19 inoculation numbers have reached pandemic highs this month as citizens and politicians alike respond to dramatic death rates and also newly enforced restrictions. Now, Bangkok, it was once the bustling area of Bangkok, the Khao San Road. It has been a shadow of itself because of COVID-19, and that's over the last year. But business owners now are hoping that Thailand's reopening to tourism this week, it will show some sort of buzz once again. And the early signs are that they may need to wait a little longer because Thailand, one of Asia Pacific's most popular tourist destinations, has enforced some strict entry curbs during the past 18 months. Although from Monday, vaccinated travelers from more than 60 countries have been allowed to visit without having to quarantine. Before the pandemic, the Khao San Road, it was heaving with people on weekdays, weekends, almost every day, because tattoo parlors, street vendors, hostels, the bustling nightlife, they were drawing budget travelers from across the world alike. But business around this area has been on a pause for the past 18 months, with only 10% able to remain open. And despite this week's relaxation, some restrictions still continue. So we are joined by Dr. Sunil Kumar Raina, who's the advisor, World Health Network and COVID Action Group, and professor and head of the Community Medicine Government College, Medical College, Himachal Pradesh. Thank you very much for joining us. So tell us, Doctor, what do you think? I mean, Prime Minister, when he comes back immediately, he sets up this meeting with seeing that we have vaccinations reach the farthest parts of our country and areas that are lacking. He focused on those areas and he says go door to door. So, I mean, that particular push of going door to door, how is it going to be achieved, sir?
And very happy Diwali to you. I was witnessing some fascinating visuals on your television and I was really mesmerized with them.
True, thank you. Yes.
I learned a line from what was being shown on your television, and it said, Ram ne na dhairya khoya na dharma. So these were very important lines for me. And probably in that context, what our Honorable Prime Minister has said is not just timely, it's also very solution oriented. Now, if you look at where we are at this point in time, the number of cases are falling down. We are not having huge number of cases. It is around 10 to 15,000 every day. And this has been happening for quite a long time. And it's absolutely possible, like we had in the previous times around February and March of 2021, as we had around that point in time, when the numbers started dropping down, we became complacent. So Prime Minister's intervention, and he's speaking of that, don't become complacent. We need to keep the patience and fight this pandemic. Because if we become complacent now, we are likely to suffer the consequences of that complacency. So in that sense, it was very timely. Second, he was able to identify the problem areas as far as this vaccination is concerned. If you look at the global scenario, there are 3 or 4 things that are generally attributed to less number of people getting vaccinated. One is the problems with regard to supply chain. Second is with regard to vaccination being distributed to different corners of the country. Third, with regard to hesitancy. Or fourth is what we have been not able to do is to reach to everybody in the country. So now that the supply chain has been ensured and we are very much sure that we can deliver vaccines to everybody, it's time to look at where we are lacking. And in that sense, identifying those 48 districts out of a total of 750 districts, around 750 districts that we have in the country, are not doing as well as rest of them, is probably the key to reaching up to the peak of this vaccination drive is concerned. And in that sense, when he says that there are ways to do it, he is giving a roadmap to the to the district administrators who have been working on vaccination drives across the country by asking them to think out of box, see how we can reach to every village and every panchayat of the district to cover most number of people. So in that sense, as he said, we got to knock at every door and see if anybody who has not been vaccinated receives vaccine. Because we need to realize that if we are able to reach a high number of vaccination, if we are able to cover a maximum number of people with vaccination,
Yes.
our chances of reducing our mortality because of this COVID pandemic is going to reduce. We may still continue to have numbers, we will still continue to have the pandemic with us, but the deaths will fall down, and that is an important step as far as vaccination is concerned. So in
Indeed,
that sense, he has been absolutely spot on the mark with regard
Right.
to his timing and with regard to what he has envisaged for this nation.
Dr. Raina, you did say that now we have the supplies in place. There is a concern, however, about hesitancy because, I mean, the vaccines may be available. The Prime Minister says take them to your doorstep. But people may say, I mean, why are we taking the vaccine? The virus has disappeared or something like that. Or because that's what the figures seem to be suggesting. So those who haven't been vaccinated, they say, what's the chance of us getting this virus at all? So, I mean, how do we convince people like that to take the vaccination?
Now, that's a very important question. Probably this is something that I have been addressing for the last 6 months now.
Right.
Now, the approach to this pandemic across the world has been through a default setting. The default setting for approach has been to prevent deaths. And when you tell people that we are not dying now, the number of people who are suffering from the disease is reducing, the precautions start falling down. It's a simple principles of taking precautions when you have the highest amount of threat. When the threat reduces, you tend to be less precautionary in your approach. This is something that has been happening across the world. If you look at US, if you look at UK, if you look at entire Europe, once the cases started falling down, vaccination itself started falling down. Now in India, fortunately, we don't have hesitancy of the level that we see around the world. People in India are willing to take vaccines. But the problem that I see in India at this point in time is not about hesitancy. It's about our reluctance to get ourselves vaccinated when we see that the numbers are falling down and when we see that we have an alternative work to do as far as current situation is concerned. For example, we have the festivals to take care of. So we don't want to get vaccinated during festivals. This is the marriage season in India. So people want to get to the marriages, complete those processes and don't want to go to vaccination now. So they want to delay the vaccination because they see that number of people getting infected are less, plus the fact that there are other activities to be performed, like, for example, the festivals or marriages. So we need to understand the fact that the dynamics of vaccination interplay are not the same that we see around the world. We have slightly different dynamics, and if we are able to address them the way we did previously when we launched about celebrating vaccination week, something like similar could be done in India at this point in time. So I would suggest that if we are thinking of post-Diwali, 2 days post-Diwali, and say that we will celebrate Diwali through reaching a number of vaccination that is outnumbered the last highest that we reached. So probably doing something like that will be able to help us. Otherwise, these 2-3 months are very critical for us, this October and November, when we have these festivals and when we have these marriages going around.
Absolutely.
We generally see a dip in all types of vaccination, not just this type of vaccination. We generally see a dip in all types of vaccination, as also people's ability to seek health care as far as health is concerned.
Indeed.
So maybe we need to address it a bit differently. Go to people. In that sense, reaching out to everybody at his home is a very good alternative, because then we are not wasting their time and we are allowing them to go to the festivals and we are allowing them to go to the marriages, but still able to vaccinate them.
But perhaps awareness needs also to be built up about the threat perception. I mean, one presumes that the virus has gone away, but actually the virus can mutate and come back in a new form and hit us, where the vaccinations also might have a problem if we allow it to happen. I mean, it's not only India that needs to be vaccinated, the whole world needs to be vaccinated for the virus to be stamped out in a sense. Otherwise, at some place, it may just mutate and come back in a different form. So, I mean, what do you think? I mean, this is just we are nowhere at the end of this getting rid of COVID. I mean, we are somewhere on the way.
Absolutely. What we need to think, not just us,
The whole
people
world.
around the world, they need to think is that the target should be elimination.
Right.
We have to reach a level wherein we don't see huge amount of infection coming across different parts of the world. So we may have small epidemics, we may have small sporadic outbreaks at one point and another which could be contained, but thinking elimination is the key. Reaching to as low as possible as far as numbers is concerned is key. Because if we allow the numbers to be high, there is always a chance of mutation, and a new mutation can do anything. It can go left or right, it can create havoc and bring in another huge
Right.
surge, or it may just go and vanish. But the key therefore will be to keep the numbers to as low as possible, and thinking elimination is the key.
Right.
And as far as elimination is concerned, one of the key strategies to elimination is vaccination. But beyond vaccination, we also will need to reduce the contact that will lead to an increase in infection. So we have to have that COVID appropriate behavior in place. We have to use those masks. This is very critical because of the way we are moving around at this point in time. Whether we go to festivals or whether we go to marriage places, we need to see the fact that all of us are using good quality masks, using them properly, and we are adhering to the social distance norms as far as these festivals are concerned. So probably combining these three things, the COVID appropriate behavior, the right message to tell people to reduce the numbers as far as infection is concerned, and the fact that vaccination has to be at its peak. These three things together will reduce the numbers, and reducing the numbers will automatically prevent from a next surge of cases and will also allow us to live a very productive, happy, pandemic-free life.
But our program is also World Today, so we're talking globally actually, and India's role globally now in the vaccination drive. Today, Covaxin has been given approval, emergency approval by the WHO. This is significant. Now, India is, as the Prime Minister said at the G20, India is in a position to produce about 5 billion vaccines next year. So India is at the forefront then of taking vaccinations to the farthest corners of the world, I mean of the round world.
India's success is not just about vaccines. You got to see it this way. The fact that we are the pharmacy hub of the world, our capability of producing vaccines and manufacturing drugs is the hugest. It's a most immense potential.
Right.
So if we are able to deliver vaccines to the entire world, we will be able to get rid of the pandemic across the world. But that's one part of it. The other part of it is, if we are successful, we are giving to the world a model wherein we are telling people that, look, a country with restricted resources, which doesn't have huge amount of money, which doesn't have huge amount of resources, has geographical diversity, has socio-economic diversity, has cultural diversity, has literary diversity, is still able to stamp out the pandemic. And people around the world, people who are from the poorer nations, the lower middle income countries, can look up to us. So in that sense, India has a chance to becoming the leader as far as health is concerned, and being able to stamp out this pandemic will show the world that it's always the resource constrained settings which produce the best of models as far as tackling crises are concerned than resource rich settings or technology friendly settings. So in that sense, if India succeeds, the world has a better chance of succeeding than if India fails. So in that sense, it's very important that we succeed not just with vaccination, but also with our ability to reduce the numbers, also with our ability to eliminate the pandemic. So if we are able to do that, the world will look up to us and we will be able to deliver to the entire world.
Indeed. So you say we are going to be delivering to the entire world, and crucial is as we end 2022 and the beginning of 2023, because by mid-2023 we hope to have sufficiently vaccinated ourselves, but we also hope that we have supplied enough vaccines to the rest of the world that they begin to sufficiently vaccinate themselves, especially the vulnerable areas and the ones which have been left out, or let's say in this vaccine accessibility concerns. So what do you think? I mean, India is going to play a very crucial role over 2023 is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. If you look at the numbers at this point in time, you look at the US for example, or you look at UK for example, the number of vaccines available with the US is more than double the need. They need to vaccinate their entire population twice. So they have a huge amount of vaccines available with them. Same is with UK. Same is with some parts of Europe. But are they willing to part with their vaccines and give it to low and middle income countries? I don't think so happening. If you look at what WHO says, I went through a paper 15-20 days back, and it says that the most critical component of vaccine delivery to low and middle income countries is India's ability to produce vaccines and deliver. So if we are able to produce more and more vaccines, we have a higher chance of being able to give vaccines to low and middle income countries. The poorer nations depend on us. They will not receive vaccines from the richer nations. This is something that we have been observing for the last 5 years, since the global health security agenda came up on the world market. So since then we have been saying it's not the richer nations, it's not the resource-rich nations which are going to deliver healthcare to the poorer nations. It's countries like us who are capable of delivering, who will deliver to the low and middle income countries. And as I said, WHO has been pinpointing this, that India needs to have higher amount of vaccines with them, then only we will be able to deliver to others. India is a signatory to Global Alliance, but our contribution to Global Alliance has not been enough because of the fact that we have not been able to meet our domestic needs. Once we are able to meet our domestic needs, then we will be able to add to the Global Alliance. And the entire world looks up to Global Alliance and Indian vaccines for its delivery. So in that sense, it's very important that India is able to produce surplus vaccines, because then and then only we will be able to stamp this pandemic from all parts of the country, all parts of the world. And that's essential, because infection anywhere in this world is going to be infection everywhere. So if you stop infection in all parts of the world, then only can be sure that the infection has been wiped out.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Dr. Suresh Raina. Thank you for being with us, and a very happy Diwali to you. Moving on then to our next story. So the Prime Minister has returned to Delhi, and this is after a successful 5-day visit to Italy and Britain. The Prime Minister launched 2 key initiatives on climate. He participated in the B3W event that was held. He also held several bilateral meetings during his visit to Glasgow. And in an effort to build resilience, the Prime Minister launched Infrastructure for Resilient Island States at COP26. So it's called IRIS, and it aims at achieving sustainable development through a systematic approach of resilient, sustainable, inclusive infrastructure in small island developing states. Highlighting India's efforts to combat climate change, the Prime Minister stated that India is only a major economy, is the only major economy, in fact, that has worked and delivered on the Paris commitments both in letter and in spirit. So let's go back and see what over the last few days, look at some of the key events at COP26. In fact, on the last day of his visit to the United Kingdom for the COP26 summit, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi held several bilateral meetings. And as he said in his departure tweet, that it was wonderful to see many old friends in person after a long time. He also met some new ones. Let's look at this report.
After a power-packed day at the UN Climate Summit and several important engagements at the Rome G20 Summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a bilateral packed day in Glasgow. Following an informal meeting on day 1 of the COP26 summit with Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, Prime Minister held his first bilateral meeting with his Israeli counterpart. Both leaders also shared a light moment. Naftali Bennett told Prime Minister Modi he was the most popular leader in Israel and invited him to join his party.
He also said that the relations between India and Israel are very close, very comprehensive, and that it would be his endeavor to strengthen and widen that relationship even further. Two prime ministers spent a lot of time talking about technology and cooperation in certain areas. Some of the areas mentioned were food processing, organic farming, the issues of strengthening supply chains, and working together in high technology areas. I think overall sense was that both countries be happy to look at very, very focused areas of economic and commercial cooperation.
Closer home, Prime Minister met his Nepalese counterpart Sher Bahadur Deuba for the first time and discussed ways to further strengthen the close bilateral ties and combat climate change, COVID-19 and facilitate post-pandemic recovery. The meeting took place after the launch of the Initiative for the Resilient Island States. In a separate bilateral meeting, Prime Minister Modi also met Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky and exchanged views on bilateral and regional developments. Both leaders also appreciated the cooperation during the COVID-19 pandemic, including mutual recognition of COVID-19 vaccination certificates. Prime Minister Modi also met US entrepreneur and Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates. Both leaders discussed ways to further sustainable development and steps to mitigate climate change.
But the Prime Minister did say that, did note that there was a hiatus because of COVID, but that he felt that Mr. Gates could visit India again, and Mr. Bill Gates said that he probably planned to visit India next year, but that the Gates Foundation was doing some good work there, and he described some of the work that involved. He said that in 2017, the Prime Minister and Mr. Gates agreed that the Gates Foundation would undertake what is called the Innovations Mission. And that mission, he felt, had done very well in India. And one of the things that they wanted to do was to see how they could introduce green technologies in India in an affordable manner.
Prime Minister also interacted with several world leaders, including President of the EU Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, who appreciated Prime Minister Modi's leadership in fighting the global climate challenge. Responding to Prime Minister's tweet that said, "Never a dull moment when you're meeting the one and only Scott Morrison," the Australian Prime Minister tweeted, "Wonderful to see my good friend Narendra Modi." Day 1 of the COP26 summit saw Prime Minister share warm moments with UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres as the two leaders welcomed him to the summit. One-on-one meetings and pull-asides on the sidelines of summits aren't just a tool of diplomacy for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They reflect the warm and special rapport he shares with other heads of states and leaders, and as they say, the pictures say it all. With Arun Sharma in Glasgow, Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, one sun, one world, one grid. It envisions a global ecosystem of interconnected renewable energy, green grids. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched the Green Grids Initiative, One Sun, One World, One Grid, jointly with the UK Prime Minister. It marked the launch of two unique initiatives. This is of collective climate action at the Glasgow summit, and the Prime Minister was in the lead.
हमारे यहाँ हजारों वर्ष पूर्व सूर्योपनिषद में कहा गया है, सूर्याद भवन्ति भूतानि सूर्येण पालिताति तू, अर्थात सब कुछ सूर्य से ही उत्पन्न हुआ है, सबकी ऊर्जा का स्रोत सूर्य ही है और सूर्य की ऊर्जा से ही सबका पालन होता है। मानवता के भविष्य को बचाने के लिए हमें फिर से सूरज के साथ चलना होगा।
We unite across the whole planet to tackle climate change. And there's one guy who particularly understands how to do that and who shares that agenda and who understands that a single hour of sunshine provides enough energy to power the whole earth for a year. One man who understands that so well and who's achieved absolutely extraordinary things in his own country of India is the Prime Minister of India. And ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, there is one sun, one world, one grid, one Narendra Modi, and I have great pleasure in handing over to Narendra. Over to you.
To re-establish the environmental balance for the welfare of humankind, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of One Sun, One World, One Grid was launched collectively by India and UK at the UN Climate Summit. The aim is to enhance solar power by facilitating sharing of solar energy.
One Sun, One World, One Grid की मेरी कई सालों पुरानी परिकल्पना को आज इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस और यूके के ग्रीन ग्रिड इनिशिएटिव के पहल से एक ठोस रूप मिला है।
Prime Minister recalled the phase of early industrial revolution which saw the massive use of fossil fuels for energy. He added that the race to mine fossil fuels also created geopolitical tensions, but over years technology has provided a great alternative. In the Prime Minister's words, walking along with the sun is the way ahead to save humanity.
जितनी ऊर्जा पूरी मानव जाति साल भर में उपयोग करती है, उतनी ऊर्जा सूर्य एक घंटे में धरती को देता है और यह अपार ऊर्जा पूरी तरह से क्लीन है, सस्टेनेबल है। चुनौती सिर्फ इतनी है कि सौर ऊर्जा दिन में ही उपलब्ध है और मौसम पर भी निर्भर है। वन सन, वन वर्ल्ड, वन ग्रिड इसी चुनौती का हल है। एक वर्ल्ड वाइड ग्रिड से क्लीन एनर्जी हर जगह, हर समय मिल पाएगी।
Prime Minister said that one sun, one world, one grid is a solution which will help reduce the carbon footprint and open new avenues of cooperation between different regions and the countries. Explaining about the solar calculator developed by ISRO, Prime Minister highlighted that the application will be useful in deciding the location of solar projects.
ISRO विश्व को एक सोलर कैलकुलेटर एप्लीकेशन देने जा रही है। इस कैलकुलेटर से सैटेलाइट डेटा के आधार पर विश्व की किसी भी जगह की सोलर पावर पोटेंशियल मापी जा सकेगी। यह एप्लीकेशन सोलर प्रोजेक्ट्स का लोकेशन डिसाइड करने में उपयोगी होगा एवं इससे वन सन, वन वर्ल्ड, वन ग्रिड को भी मजबूती मिलेगी।
The International Solar Alliance was launched in January 2016 and it is on that platform that the Prime Minister first called for the initiative of One Sun, One World and One Grid. UN Climate Summit in Glasgow aims to achieve global grid interconnection with key pillars on political engagement, research and knowledge sharing and institutional engagement. The push for a solar alliance will help in achieving a greener and sustainable future ahead. Arun Sharma and Tapus Bhattacharya's report from Glasgow, DD India.
Sukmawati Sukarnaputri, the daughter of Indonesia's former President Sukarno, converted to Hinduism on her 70th birthday. According to reports, Sukmawati expressed her views on her conversion and said that she thought of converting to Hinduism after her husband had died. She explained that according to her, Hinduism is her religion of choice because it has intimacy with the Balinese people. Ethiopia has imposed a state of emergency spanning for 6 months as forces in the Tigray region, they march towards the capital Addis Ababa. The announcement, it came just 2 days after the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed urged citizens to take up arms to defend themselves against the Tigray People's Liberation Front. The crisis unfolded in the country a year ago between federal troops and the TPLF, and thousands of people have been killed and more than 2 million people have been forced to flee. So the Tigraynian forces, they were initially beaten back, but they recaptured most of the region in July and they pushed into the neighboring Amhara and Afar regions. Well, it was a happy reunion after a harrowing time for the parents of the 4-year-old Cleo Smith, who disappeared from a campsite in Australia on October 16. She was found alive and well in a locked house after the whole country were concerned. The whole country of Australia was concerned about her whereabouts, and a man also was taken into custody because in relation to her disappearance. Let's look at this report.
Statewide search and rescue ops came to a happy conclusion after more than 2 weeks of frantic police activity and nationwide concern. A 4-year-old girl who went missing from an Australian outback campsite more than 2 weeks ago has been found alive and well in a locked house, authorities said on Wednesday. Police broke into a house in Carnarvon, a town about 100 kilometers south of the campsite, early on Wednesday morning and found Cleo Smith in one of the rooms.
One of the officers picked her up into his arms and asked her, "What's your name?" She said, "My name is Cleo." Cleo was reunited with her parents a short time later. This is the outcome we all hoped and prayed for.
A man has been taken into custody in relation to the disappearance. Western Australia Premier Mark McGowan praised police efforts after 4-year-old Cleo was found. He said that authorities around the world will look to the case for its police and detective work, adding that there will be movies made about this. The disappearance had become national news and grabbed headlines uninterruptedly down under. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison told media how thankful he was that 4-year-old Cleo was found on Wednesday. He was speaking from Dubai on his way home from Glasgow.
I just want to say how thankful I am that Cleo is home and that she's safe. to Ellie and Jake, this is every parent's worst nightmare. And the fact that that nightmare has come to an end and our worst fears were not realised is just a huge relief and a moment for great joy. This particular case obviously has captured the hearts of Australians as we felt such terrible sorrow for the family. And I want to thank particularly all of the police and all of those who are involved in making sure that Cleo is safe.
Cleo was last seen in her family's tent at about 1:30 a.m. local time on the 16th of October at the remote Blowholes Shacks campsite in Macleod, about 900 kilometers north of Perth, the capital of Western Australia state. When her parents woke up next morning, she was gone. Australian police feared the girl had been abducted and offered a $1 million Australian dollars or $743,000 US reward for information. Bureau Report, DD India.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer compared Cristiano Ronaldo's talismanic influence in Manchester United to the NBA legend Michael Jordan after he scored twice to salvage a 2-2 draw at Atalanta on Tuesday, and for the third time the 4 Champions League games since returning for a second spell at Old Trafford. Ronaldo rescued United with a late goal as his sweetly struck volley in the 91st minute snatched a barely deserved point in Bergamo.
You know, we all have our roles and responsibilities, and of course Cristiano was a leader in the group, but that's what he does. He scores goals. We're not happy conceding 2 goals. Both of them are very, very fine margins. I think the first one should be off. The second one is a centimetre onside. Is probably maybe offside in last season. So it's fine margins. But he does provide those moments, and I'm sure Chicago Bulls didn't mind having Michael Jordan either. So you know, sometimes teams have the players they have, and that's why they are at Man United. That's why they are champions at in Chicago Bulls. You just come up with those moments, and for me, I know there's votes coming up, or you know, Cristiano is just getting better and better for us. He's feeling better. You know, he's not had a proper pre-season. Now he's getting better and better, and he's feeling up to speed now.
Reigning champions Chelsea moved closer to the last 16 of the Champions League with a hard-fought win 1-0 over Malmo in Sweden. The Blues went ahead when Hakim Ziyech converted at the back post following an excellent cross from Callum Hudson-Odoi. Thiago Silva nearly grabbed a second, but his glancing header was cleared off the line by Anel Amidozovic. It was another masterful, decisive, defensive display from Thomas Tuchel's side, who denied Malmo a single shot on target. Chelsea have 9 points from 4 matches in Group H and are 3 points behind Juventus, who booked their place in the last 16 with 2 games to spare when they beat Zenit St. Petersburg. Chelsea now need 1 more point to join the Italians in the knockout stage. Now, as we end our bulletin, it's time to move into our special segment, which is Today in History. Let's take a look at what happened in the past on this day.
On this day in 1935, a plebiscite returned George II to the throne of Greece after 12 years in exile. In 1961, on this day, the UN General Assembly unanimously elected U Thant as acting Secretary General of the United Nations after the death of Dag Hammarskjöld. On this day in 1992, the Democrat Bill Clinton was elected US President, defeating the Republican incumbent George Bush. In 1998, on this day, the US cartoonist Bob Kane, who was also the creator of Batman, died aged 83. On this day in 2002, Turkey's Justice and Development Party won a parliamentary election by a landslide. The party's leader, Tayyip Erdogan, was barred from becoming Prime Minister because of a past conviction for Islamist sedition. In 2004, on this day, Danish golfer Miriam Bagger became the first transsexual to qualify for Ladies European Tour. World Today Desk, DD India.
Well, that's the world today. Thank you very much for watching. Namaskar.